Hello everybody, it's time to return to our adventure of the Avengers versus the Masters of Evil, as well as Baron Zemo, Captain America's longtime foe. So you'll remember that Zemo, who's a master planner, had assembled a group of three supervillains. Each one had fought one of the Avengers. The Melter, with his melting ray, fought against Iron Man. The Radioactive Man, with his power to repel Thor's hammer, had almost defeated him, but not quite. And then the Black Knight, with his winged steed, was able to outmaneuver Giant Man and the Wasp until they defeated him. But together, maybe they can defeat the Avengers with the master planning of Zemo behind them. But Captain America is a master planner himself, and so he sent the Avengers out to switch up their foes. All right, and so they're heading out. Captain America is beginning to hunt down his old enemy Zemo. And speaking of Zemo, we're ready to check in with him and the Masters of Evil. Let's see what schemes he's up to. Zemo is preparing for a new assault upon the city as he refills his adhesive X containers from the main supply vat aboard his Hela hovercraft. He says, "Careful with that adhesive, you clumsy fool. Not a drop is to be wasted. Before I am done, it will make me the most powerful man on Earth." Yeah, right. Now, all three of you are to load up your adhesive X cylinders again. You'll give the city another treatment to bring the Avengers to their knees. Black Knight boasts, "With our combined powers, we are the Masters of Evil, Zemo. We can accomplish anything." Well, let's see. They are pretty powerful, I will admit. But the sinister supervillain combo has reckoned without the everyday courage and determination of Rick Jones' Teen Brigade. And this big fella says, "Let me take him, Rick. I'm the biggest." But Rick says, "No, it's my job. I'll use the Ranger tactics Cap taught me." And this fella thinks, "Lucky Rick. Imagine learning military attack techniques from Captain America himself." And Rick reaches out to grab the pilot. He thinks, "I've got to stop Zemo's pilot before he can seal those containers with the adhesive spray. This is it." And so they manage to lasso the pilot, and Rick says, "Okay, brigaders, move. Empty out those cylinders and replace them with Paste Pot Pete's Super Dissolver. Fast. We won't let you down, Rick. Here's where all our teamwork really pays off. All done. Tie up the pilot and let's go." Seconds later, the Masters of Evil grab the cylinders, which they think contain adhesive X. There's Radioactive Man. "Even the mighty Thor will be helpless before me once his hammer is pasted to the ground." Black Knight says, "The Avengers won't surprise us again, Zemo. We'll be ready for them this time." Zemo says, "Go! Let the world see the awesome power of Zemo, the masked monarch." And finally the Melter gets his word in. "If only we had thought to band together before, what conquests we would have made." Nope. Wow, but here's an impressive sight. The Black Knight on his winged steed flying through the air. Conrad, you have a knight costume. You could pretend to be the Black Knight. The first to spray the contents of his cylinder is the high-flying Black Knight, totally unaware that he is freeing the city rather than imprisoning it. He says something is wrong. Instead of gluing everything to the spot, the spray is freeing those who were trapped before. But how? Well, how is this Paste Pot Pete's Super Dissolver formula is dissolving all of the adhesive that he'd placed before. Wow, what a sight. But before he has time to gather his wits, here comes the mighty hammer of Thor. Thor's hammer, says Black Knight, but he was not supposed to be my foe. And Thor realizes Captain America was right. By each of us attacking the other's former enemy, we've thrown them off guard. So he dares to charge at me? The thing is, Thor is able to meet Black Knight up in the air where he flies. But the Black Knight is charging swiftly, and with his powerful javelin, he says, "Surprised, Thunder God? You didn't expect my innocent-looking lance is in reality a most deadly arsenal of weapons. I, who almost defeated the towering giant man, have no fear of jousting with you." And so his lance shoots out rays. But look at what Thor does. He swings his hammer around. He says, "So be it. But no matter what your earthly weapon fires, my whirling hammer can deflect the projectiles with ease." And before you can reload, "Bah," says the Black Knight, "I have no need to reload. I still have weapons enough to deal with you." Weapons such as this innocent-looking stun ray, most effective at close range. Oh! So he shoots the Thunder God in the face, and the irresistible sudden stun sensation causes the mighty Thunder God to lose his balance for a second as he topples back. Black Knight says, "And now to press my advantage." This paralysis ray will... What? How did he recover so quickly? But look, the Thunder God has recovered already from the stun spray, and he swings his hammer. He says, "You'll never have time to fire that gun. My patience is ended." And then with those ringing words, the Thunder God attacks. Meanwhile, the next master of evil performs his task on foot. The people say, "Run! It's the radioactive man!" But the radioactive man is busy thinking, "What's happened to Zemo's adhesive? The more I spray, the more victims I set free." "Take 5, Hotshot, the party's over." And here comes Giant Man. And then he thinks, "I've got to swallow a reducing capsule the split second that he hurls that cylinder." Giant Man. And so Radioactive Man tries to attack. But now, Giant Man says, "I took a highly concentrated capsule. I'll shrink so fast, he'll think I've vanished." And so the canister sails past Giant Man. Radioactive Man says, "He's gone. Zemo never warned me he had the power to disappear, but he isn't the one I seek. I long to destroy my old enemy, Thor." Now for the second part of my maneuver, thinks Giant Man, I'll seem to spring up behind him. I'm in exactly the right spot. "You," says Radioactive Man, "back again. This time I'll make sure you don't escape." Giant Man says, "If we plan this right, he'll hurl a radioactive bolt at me." Sure enough, that's exactly what he does. And then Giant Man shrinks again, and Radioactive Man says, "I missed him again. But what's that over the fence? My beam struck something." And up pops Iron Man, who says, "Good work, partner. That took a lot of nerve. And now I'll carry the ball." And Giant Man thinks it worked because the radioactive bolt hit this panel that Iron Man is holding. But what will that do? "This transistor-powered ejector is a device I invented for scientists working in atomic labs to protect them against radiation." And so look, that power bolt activated this radioactive shield. and it's going to wrap around the radioactive man. As soon as any radiation touches the photoelectric cell, it ejects a rapidly unwinding spool of lead foil, which wraps itself around the source, as you can see. And so the lead is going to contain the power of the radioactive man. And this inflatable balloon is the type used by the Air Corps for years, except that mine is lead coated. Your dangerous radioactivity won't affect it at all. While you dangle up there, waiting for the authorities to free you, you'll have lots of time to meditate about what it means to fool around with the Avengers. And so Giant Man and Iron Man together have taken care of Radioactive Man. They've wrapped him in lead adhesive tape and they've sent him up into the air. But here comes the Melter. You have not won yet, Iron Man. We, the Masters of Evil, are a team, even as the Avengers. You must defeat all of us, which is impossible. And so the Melter, to show off his power, shoots his ray at an iron pole, which melts. And Iron Man says, the mysterious Melter. He's focusing on that lamppost, making it melt towards me. He was the one foe I didn't want to face. Only he has the power to destroy my armor. The melted lamppost is about to entwine itself about me. What is Iron Man going to do? Look, Ant-Man is in the background. But I've got to move fast. Only my power jets can save me. And so he jets out of the entwining lamppost. Melter says, quick thinking, Iron Man, but you've only gone from the frying pan into the fire. Now I'll strike again. I can't go higher, says Iron Man. His withering beams keep melting the masonry of the condemned building above me. Well, sometimes the only thing to do is plunge right into the things you fear the most. Let's see you prove how good you are, Melter. I'll match my skill against your melting beam. This will be your last challenge, boasts the Melter. But Iron Man thinks, now, if only he'd hurl his beam now. And so he does. I outsmarted him. He did it. Blast you, says the Melter. You put on an extra burst of speed, but I'll get you with my next beam. Guess again, Melter, says the Iron Man. Your blast struck just where I hoped it would. You hit the hydrant behind me, and that high-pressure stream of water you released is just what I wanted. Thoroughly drenched, the Melter's awesome beam is unable to function, and so Iron Man says, without your melting ability, son, you're just another guy named Joe. The police will take care of you now. And so he grabs up the Melter by his cape and runs off with him. Meantime, Giant Man, now reduced to his dual role of Ant-Man, pulls himself together after his physically exhausting ordeal of changing size so quickly and so often. The Wasp is there too. She says, the fight's going well, Blue Eyes. What do we do next? Ant-Man says, now that I've shaken the cobwebs out, I think we'd better see what happened to Captain America, Jan. Being new to the Avengers, he may need some help. But others are also seeking the costume champion. Among them are the Teen Brigade and Dr. Zemo. Come on, Brigaders, says Rick. We've got to find Cap and see if there's anything we can do. Hey! But there's Zemo, says the young fools who serve as the eyes and ears of the Avengers, eh? Well, my scepter's hypno-ray will change all of that. Oh no, I bet this ray hypnotizes people. Under the influence of the masked monarch's hypnotic ray, Rick Jones and his fellow Teen Brigaders become immobile, staring straight ahead with dull, unseeing eyes. We await your commands, Dr. Zemo, says Rick. Naturally, says Zemo, soon the entire world will parrot those words to me. But what is this? Why have you been near my master cylinder, the one I personally identified with an X? Whoops. Suddenly, a glistening, whirling shield knifes through the air as a commanding voice rings out, "They'll come to no harm, not while I live." And so we see the shield of the one and only Captain America. He comes into view, and Zemo says, "Captain America, at last." "So it is you, Zemo," says Cap. "How I've prayed for this moment." Zemo says, I thought you were dead." Captain America says, "Not hardly." And then Zemo says, "I thought I had rid myself of you forever." "I still live, Zemo, and thanks to the Avengers, I still fight. So look out, here comes Captain America with his shield, ready for the fight." Oh, and he kicks. Wow, what a kick. He says, "Perhaps you remember how I fight, Zemo. You have good reason to." And so he kicks that hypno ray out of Zemo's hands. It won't do him any good. "But I too am a fighter," says Zemo. "Accursed one, I've had these many years to learn, to practice, and to prepare for this moment, if ever it came." So he attacks with a mighty karate chop. But Captain America dodges. See what a karate blow in the hands of a master can do? And he chopped this trash can in two, swish. But again, Captain America is too agile for him to strike. "This is why I fear you no longer, Captain America," says Zemo as he bludgeons a wall. He says, "This is why Zemo can never lose." So Captain America dodges. "Too bad your skill doesn't match your words, you arrogant killer." And look how Captain America springs back on a handstand and uses his feet to kick away Zemo. "This is no innocent victim of tyranny you're taunting now. This is Captain America. I was adept at every form of hand-to-hand combat known to man, while you were still safe in your laboratory serving your Nazi masters." And so he comes at Zemo with his shield. "Where is your braggadocio now, master of evil?" "I still remember how you sneered at democracy, how you called Americans soft, timid, too spoiled to fight for freedom," as his iron grip grasps the wrist of Zemo. "You mocked free men. You boasted of your contempt for liberty. Feel my grip, Zemo. It is the grip of a free man. Look into these eyes, tyrant. They're the eyes of a man who would die for liberty." The world must never again make the fatal error of mistaking compassion for weakness, and while I live, it won't. And he wrestles Zemo to the ground. At that very moment, all but forgotten in the turmoil, Zemo's pilot frees himself of his bonds and strikes at the masked Avenger. From behind, of course, the coward, and he shoots his gun. He thinks Zemo will reward me handsomely for this. But the almost legendary fighting reflexes of Captain America, honed in battle, tempered in 1,000 crusades, make him swiftly swerve as he hears the pistol hammers click, so that the deadly bullet merely grazes his skull. He thinks, "A new danger behind me. Oh!" and he spins away. "Good work," says Zemo. "Quickly, we must escape while we can." The pilot asks, "What about your 3 allies?" Zemo says, "The police won't hold them forever. Sooner or later, we'll rejoin forces. Now, come." And look, he's carrying the canister marked X. But first, let me finish Captain America for good. And here comes the Wasp with a nail. She says, "You are right, Hank, honey. We are needed here." "Grab that nail, Jan," says Ant-Man. "You know what to do." What is she gonna do? What good will a nail be against a gun? Look at that. The pilot says, I'll shoot the accursed fighter for freedom now while he's helpless. This is your way, isn't it, Zemo? And Wasp slips the nail inside the gun. There, she thinks, not a second too soon. The nail deflected the bullet just enough, and so the bullet shoots to one side, and Captain America is saved. The Wasp says, now it's up to my blue-eyed partner. What's he going to do? Before the merciless pilot can fire a second shot, well, Ant-Man becomes Giant Man. And the pilot says, where'd you come from? Giant Man says, the stork brought me. Now hand over that pop gun. No, no, you'll never get me. I won't let you. So he runs between Giant Man's legs. And Giant Man says, why does every criminal cornball I meet want to end up playing tag? So he reaches for the pilot. You're making me angry. I just had my costume cleaned. And he reaches for him. And the fella trips. But he still runs away. Giant Man climbs up the side of the building. Well, if he's determined to make a run for it, I've got a few new maneuvers I've been wanting to try out. And so he goes to the top of the building, and with his long legs, he can leap from building to building. When a fella my size travels, I can make lots better time up here on the rooftops. And look at him straddling the buildings. Pilot thinks, ha, I escaped him. Zemo was right. Those who fight for justice can always be defeated. But not so. Here come two giant arms grabbing the pilot. All right, sweetie, says Giant Man, the party's over. Anyone around my base is it. So he hands him over to the police. He says, he's all yours, boy. But the policeman says, look out, here comes the Black Knight again. And who's that on the saddle with him? Asks Giant Man. Well, it's not the Black Knight. It's Thor on the saddle, and he's carrying the Black Knight. Thor says, here's a friend of yours with the fight knocked out of him. I think he'd appreciate a nice long rest in some quiet jail. Nice going, Thor, says Giant Man. Say, look over there. Isn't that Zemo's heli hovercraft? It's rising into the air. That means we failed. If he escapes, our victory is just a hollow one. And so here comes Giant Man, Cap, Iron Man. Zemo just took off. We've got to go after him. But Captain America very calmly says, that won't be necessary, my friend. He won't get very far. We took care of that. And Iron Man points his palm at Rick and the Teen Brigade. He says, I'll get these courageous Teen Brigaders out of their hypnotic state by means of my whirling palm signaler, Cap. Meantime, you explain things to our king-sized buddy. Say, what's going on? Asks one of the Teen Brigaders. I feel like I'm waking up from a long nap. Explain what things? Asks Giant Man. Isn't Zemo in that ship? If not, who is? Oh, he's in it all right, explains Captain America. But he thought he had taken a cylinder of Paste Pot Pete's super dissolver with him so that he could finally get his hood off after all these years. This is the vial which he thought he took. This is the one with the dissolver spray. Zemo had hoped to use it on his mask so he could take it off again. But if you have the cylinder, what did Zemo take? Captain America explains. Another one, a very special one, which Rick's Teen Brigaders switched with the genuine after they marked theirs with an X also. The one Zemo grabbed was filled with tear gas. And by the way the ship looks now, I guess he just opened it. So look, he opened up the vial, he sprayed it on his head, thinking it would dissolve the adhesive, but instead it filled his eyes with tears. And now the heli hovercraft is coming down. Iron Man says the police will pick him up easily enough when he's landed, but they've already been alerted. Whoops. Sorry. Here we go. Gosh, Thor, asks Rick, are you going to keep the Black Knight's winged horse? I can't, Rick, says Thor. Even though he's a prisoner, it's still his by law. Giant Man says, we'll have our hands full if he ever gets released and claims it again. Wasp says, oh, stop looking so worried, all of you. You know the only thing you like better than a good fight is talking about it afterward. And so they finished this fight. They defeated the Masters of Evil. Zemo and his 3 supervillains have all been arrested and are going to jail. But the editor says if you have a slight suspicion that we haven't seen the last of Zemo and his Masters of Evil, you just may be right. This story was only a warm-up to whet your appetite. The main course comes later. So join us next issue for more surprises with America's most uninhibited, unabashed, unforgettable team, the adventure-seeking Avengers. The end. What a great story. Did y'all enjoy meeting Zemo, Captain America's old enemy, and the other enemies of the Avengers? And even though the villains teamed up, the Avengers worked as a team as well. All right. Let's see what's next. Wow. Wait till you see it. The Avengers and their darkest hour, in which the mighty Avengers battle among themselves with the Enchantress, the Executioner, and evil Zemo waiting to pick up the spoils. And so Zemo returns next issue with 2 new allies, the Executioner and the Enchantress, and they're from Asgard. They're old enemies of Thor. And look, they've got Thor fighting against the Avengers. Oh my, what a great story. And so that's what we have to look forward to next. I can't wait. How about you? All right, love y'all. Bye-bye for now.